mind the zero oil pressure on the digital gauge. The sensor isn't hooked up into the EFI controller of bucket number 1. It will be wired in when I put this one together, though. I cannot express this enough. I am very novice when it comes to the computer side. I don't have any previous Pi experience. I don't have any Linux experience. My coding skills have been limited to making minor changes on automotive bins, nothing that was applicable to computer systems. So I started this completely in the green with no previous experience. And the way I did it that worked for me may not work for you. It's not the right way to do it. And I'm sure anyone with experience with Pi and Linux or any computer system is going to watch this video and absolutely cringe at my way of doing things. But it worked for me and I got the desired results. So let's check it out. Cool, let's jump into it. So you're going to need to get yourself a Pi 5. You don't need to get the active cooling fan on there, but I thought it would be beneficial. 7-inch DSi touchscreen. A bigger screen would have been nicer, but that's what fit gracefully in the dash of my project. And top shelf SD card. You don't really need a lot of memory size, but you do want the highest speed that you can get. This just happened to be what was at my local store. And then you're going to want some sort of USB thumb drive to go back and forth with a couple files between the desktop or your laptop and the Pi. Cool, let's get going. Download and install the official Raspberry Pi imager. And once that is set up, we'll choose Raspberry Pi. I'm going to choose the OS, Raspberry Pi OS 64-bit, and then the storage is going to be the SD card that we just got at the store. We can skip this for now. We will put that information in once the OS is up and running on the Pi. Okay, the OS loaded on the SD card. SD card is in the Pi, and it's been fired up for the first time. Let's go through the whole setup wizard here. We've gotten through the setup. Now it's time to let it do its update, which is going to take quite a while. Cool. We are up to date. Moving on. Now that we're up on the desktop, the first thing to do is open up the terminal. We're going to get into the Raspi config. So sudo raspi-config. Go down to advanced options, Wayland, and we're going to make sure that we are on Wayfire. I think the thing defaults to this LABWC, or you can do X11 if you like the legacy stuff, but for what we're working on and the codes and everything that we're going to be setting up, it's going to be Wayfire. Let's download TunerStudio. Once downloaded, we're going to extract it. We're going to put it somewhere easy to find because you're going to be using the pathway for it quite a bit. TunerStudio isn't going to run like this. We're going to have to download Java so that TunerStudio can run. So we're going to go to sudo apt install default-jdk. And we'll let it do its thing. Yes. And it's installing. Sweet, Java is installed, and we can go test TunerStudio here. Let's see how it does. The tunerstudio.sh is the command that opens the thing. To get rid of this warning right here, we're going to go to Edit, Preferences, Don't Ask Options, and then when we double click it, it won't give us that warning, and it should open up TunerStudio. And there she be. Next, we'll want Tuner Studio to auto start on boot. So we're going to go back into the folders here, get to TunerStudioMS, TunerStudioSH, and we're going to copy the path, and then we're going to right-click in an open space and hit the Show Hidden, and that'll unlock some folders up here. Config, and where is it? There we go. Wayfire INI, right-click, open in the text editor, and at the very bottom of this file here, we're going to add bracket, auto start, close bracket. The next line down, we're going to say Tuner Studio equals, and we're going to copy the path that we pasted earlier. There we go, to the SH, and we're going to save this file. Save it, and then we'll reboot to test it. Check it out. Tuner Studio auto ran on boot. That's exciting. We need to enter all of our registration information. Head back over to your desktop and load the firmware INI file and your custom-made dash of your choice onto a USB stick. And we're going to plug it into the Pi and transfer the files over. And then we'll go through the motions of registering. We'll input your registration here, and then we'll set up the project, and just like you would on a normal laptop or desktop computer. Okay, I've got Tuner Studio set up to my liking. I think an important thing to note here is to uncheck the Perform Difference Report and uncheck Automatically Load and Save the Current Tune. We don't want this system as a dash to be comparing a loaded tune to the one that it reads off of the EFI controller. We just want it to read off the EFI controller and immediately start reporting live data. The incentive for me to run the full version of Tuner Studio instead of, say, like TS Dash or one of the other digital dash programs out there for, say, like Android or something, is I wanted the ability to have auto-tune automatically happen. So here we're going to set up VEAL and how to get it to start automatically tuning conditionally. Of course, you're going to have these filters set up here to whatever you want them to be. Don't forget your lambda delay table. So tools, action management, user actions, new user action. And we're going to set this up here to auto start VEAL. So you'll give it a name, give it a display name, and then target action at the very bottom here, start auto tune, and then don't forget to scroll down and save. Okay, there's our auto tune. Back over to action triggers, we need to tell it when to come on. So we're going to new action trigger. Trigger it on. There we go. It actually even auto-populated the target action we wanted. You can set it up to do whatever you would like. I'd like to set it up for is true for RPM greater than 400 for 30 seconds. That way, the engine will be running, not cranking, and then it'll be running for 30 seconds to give the wideband a chance to warm up and come alive. And reset every 30 seconds. Save. Cool. So that is set to come on automatically. With Tuner Studio set up, now let's kind of address the desktop that you see for a brief moment as the thing boots and Tuner Studio is launching. So let's clean things up here. We're going to go to Add and Remove Plugins, and everything that is kind of up here you essentially want to go away. And when you remove those plugins, those warnings go away with them. Bluetooth I'm going to keep because I have a Bluetooth keyboard, but everything else that we don't really want up here. And then same on the left-hand side if there was something there that you didn't want. I think I've already kind of stripped this down a little bit. Okay, and then desktop preferences. And get rid of the wastebasket, mounted disks. Here you get to choose your background. There is a very cool background I like that is perfect, I think, for a digital dash, and that is this nice, big, beautiful, open, freshly paved road in the middle of the country. So there are 3 things left to do to kind of clean up this experience here. First, I'd like to get rid of this taskbar. I want it to auto-hide. Second is I want the cursor to disappear unless I move the mouse. And third is getting the system to go into read-only and write protect the boot SD card, which is the final step after all the changes have been made. For the taskbar, I'm going to go into the folders, config, the wf-panel-pi, right-click, text editor, and at the bottom here, we're going to put in auto-hide equals true and auto-hide duration equals 0. If you don't do the duration equals 0, which is milliseconds, it plays a little animation when it comes down and then goes away again. So we're going to save that, close it, and is it going to listen? There we go. Sweet. To hide the cursor, there isn't a native option or plugin or way to do that. We have to download an extra plugins package that someone has created, which is very awesome of them. So we're going to head to the internet here, and then type in just some keywords to search for. Wayfire 64 hide cursor Pi 5. And I believe it's going to be this first thread on Raspberry Pi Stack Exchange here. Someone has laid out very detailed instructions that I couldn't wrap my head around and I couldn't get to work. So I came up with a way that probably isn't correct, but it works for me, and I found it to be easier than all of the stuff that they wanted you to additionally download and add in. So we're going to go to the full entry here link in this thread or in this post. And they have even more very detailed instructions with code, how to get what you're trying to accomplish here. When you scroll down, you're going to find this download link here that has the plugins in it for your operating system. So Raspbian 64-bit, it's going to download. And we are going to extract right there in the downloads folder. And there we go. Now we've got USR. And there's now 2 different versions of USR. There's this one that we just downloaded that's in our downloads folder. And then there's the one that's native to the computer that has the plugins already that came with the OS. And we need to move the ones from the downloads into the file that's native to the operating system for them to work. In my experience, and maybe someone else knows a better way to do it, we're locked out of adding or modifying anything out of these folders. There's permissions or something. And I just kind of brute forced my way to do it by using the sudo move command. And I'll be using that a lot here in the next several steps to get this no cursor. Okay, we'll start with the ones that we downloaded. So USR, and we are looking for lib hide cursor. Copy this path, and then we're going to go over here. Sudo mv, going to paste that path where we have the file we want to move, and now we're going to go to the location that we want it to go to. That's the native USR folder, the one that came on the OS. Lib arch, and then we'll go to Wayfire, and we're going to move it into this folder. So just choose one of them, copy the path, head back over here. You have to make sure there's a space after your last paste there, and then paste. We're going to delete the file name because we're not trying to do anything with that. There we go. That's going to move that plugin from the downloads folder into the native USR folder that we are locked out of. And there will not be a confirmation. It's just going to happen. And we'll verify it here. So we'll go on down, USR, lib, arch64, and Wayfire. And where'd you go? Lib hide cursor. There it is. There's a second file that has to get moved that we downloaded along with that plugin, the XML file, which tells that plugin how to behave. So we're going to head back to our downloads, and in the share, Wayfire metadata, we're going to find the one that matches the plugin. So there's hide cursor. I find I have to modify it a little bit for this application, what we're looking to have done here. So open it up in the text editor, and you're going to zero out the millisecond times. And if you don't do that, I've noticed that the cursor appears for a split second on boot before the desktop loads. By having these as 0, the cursor just never shows up at all until you move the mouse. So save, copy path. We're going to sudo chop it into place. I don't know if sudo chop is actually a command, but that's what I'm calling sudo move. So sudo move, paste. We're going to go to the file that we want it to go to, user share, and Wayfire, metadata, and it's going to end up in here. So choose one of them again, copy its path, make sure there's that space, paste it, delete the file name, and move it into place. So let's confirm that that actually moved where we want it to. USR, share, and there's got to be a more graceful way to do this, but this is how I figured it out how to do it. Wayfire, metadata, and where is hide? Hide cursor. There it is. Sweet. We've got the plugin in where it's supposed to be. We've got the XML file that tells the plugin how to behave. Now we need to let the computer know to actually use the plugin. When I was searching around for what file that might have been, I found it in the etc. file. I'm going to call it etc. So etc. And then scroll down to Wayfire. And this defaults INI. We're going to open that in the text editor. And you can see that the very first line here is the string that opens up all of those plugins on boot. This file is read-only. We can't modify it and save it. We can modify it. We can add whatever we want to it, but we won't be able to save it back into the folder that it came from. So what I do is I add, at the very end of the list here, it appears that each plugin is space separated. So after the last one, I add in the hide cursor plugin, and then I save the file somewhere else, and then I do that sudo move, sudo chop it back into the file, into the folder that it came from. And let's do that now. When you move a file name from one location to another that has the same name, it overwrites the one that is in the folder you're moving it to, which is exactly what we want it to do. Okay, and let's go verify that in the etc. Wayfire defaults that at the very end it has our hide cursor plugin. So let's do a reboot and let's see if everything kind of works as planned here. All right, check it out. It auto-ran, auto-booted absolutely everything. It auto-connected to a spare Speeduino board I have sitting back there, and it's reading the live data off of it. You'd notice on the boot, a thing that I'd like to clean up, I just don't know how, is that little blip of the taskbar before I think it reads the command to auto-hide it or something. So it blips for a split second and then disappears again. But yeah, other than that, I think we're ready to lock out this SD card. Okay, to make that boot SD card read-only, we would go to the terminal, the sudo raspi-config again, and performance options, overlay file system. Would you like to do that? Yes. It's going to do its thing, and it's going to take us back to that Raspi config when it's done. Okay, and yes, we do want to make the boot partition to be write protected. That is the whole point here. Okay, and when we're done, want to reboot? Sure. Okay, cool. I think we are done. This thing is ready for install in the vehicle. The point for doing the locked out SD card or the read-only SD card is so that we can hook up the step-down converter from 12 volt or 14 volt down to the 5 volt power supply for the Pi directly to the ignition switch. We don't have to worry about doing a safe shutdown before killing the power, and it won't corrupt any boot information, and it won't corrupt the SD card. So we can literally just pull the plug on it whenever we want, and then every time we apply power again, it's going to do the boot process. And I think I'm going to let this one go so you can see the full boot time. It's in between 24 to 28 seconds from the time that the power is applied until it's full screen and reading the data off of the EFI controller, which I think is livable. I don't think that's too bad. There you go. That's the process it'll do every time you turn the key on. Sweet. Thanks for checking out my project.